yes. Classic ZZ Top. This is your first time here. I'm Blair Armstrong of Team Armstrong Coldwell Banker, located in beautiful Indian Wells, California. Also brand ambassador of the Global Luxury Real Estate here located in the Coachella Valley. But that's not why we're here to talk about that. This is Old Guys Still Rock, and this is going to be episode number 45 today. And today we're going to talk about the art of communication. Why it is so simple, but for whatever reason, we make it so difficult. So in just a few moments, we're going to join a very good friend of mine for almost 30 years, Brent Wright of Brent Wright Incorporated. And we're going to start peeling back that onion of why, again, something so simple, why we make it so difficult. So again, before we get into that, I just want to say thank you so much for all your continued support. For most of you that know this, we do not monetize this show. That means we do not take any money from advertisers or from influencers saying, if you say this and do this and this, we'll give you this. We don't want any of that. We were here to not only help ourselves grow, but help you grow as well. So for all of those that have left comments, subscribe to the show, share the show, thank you very much. If you haven't done either one of those, take a moment, do that. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button on the Spotify channel. But most of all, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about today's show. And then go back and check out some other ones and leave us some comments on that one too. But as I said earlier, we do not monetize the show. So what we really need from you is, since we're not going to get a lot of publicity through YouTube or Spotify because we're not taking advertising money, share that show. If something in this show today that we talked to you about resonates with you and you feel that somebody else would like to hear it, go ahead and share that out to us and let us know what your thoughts on are. So enough being said with that. Let's get right into it, and let's join in with my good friend and co-host of the show, Brent Wright Incorporated. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome back to You Reach Old Guys Still Rock. As I said in the intro, I'm Blair Armstrong, and then on my right, your left, whatever which way it turns out, sooner or later, I'm going to remember this, but remember, I'm an old guy. So, Brent Wright, good friend of mine for almost 30 years, owner of Brent Wright Incorporated, located in beautiful Eugene, Oregon, home of the Oregon Ducks. Go Ducks for all of our Duck fans and for wherever else. But how you doing, brother?
Good. We got this crazy, weird, bright ball in the sky for the last couple of days. It's kind of a weird spring for us. So, yeah, feeling pretty good. Episode 45 today.
Episode 45.
Love our diehard 45 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you very much.
Amen to that.
We appreciate that. A little alignment there of the stars. 45 episodes, 45 subscribers. So, I believe we're still in the 90% success rate. We're still here. We're still producing podcasts. We're still not monetizing it. So imagine that.
Still not doing it, brother. I feel like if we have 45 subscribers and this is our 45th episode, we should give away something. We just don't have anything yet. We got to figure that out. We got to get some garb. We got to get some OGSR hats. And
agreed.
Maybe we could team up with Frisella and put our logo on his stuff. I don't know.
I'll send that out to our T-shirt folks. We just ordered a pile of 100 plus T-shirts from a local vendor, and they're supposed to be done this Saturday for the beginning of the Wellness Center's grand opening. So I'll reach out to them and see if we can't get approved and get some swag, get some OGSR swag, right?
Well, we each have each other's pictures, so we can just pull it and make it a cartoon figure with this. There we go, right? The ripe age of 55, still rocking out. So week is good for you. We had a solar eclipse this week.
The world didn't come to an end.
Right?
Did you see that meme that the guy was gonna buy 500 blow up dolls, fill them full of helium, and release them as soon as the eclipse started, and he's like, everybody will think the rapture is happening.
That's pretty good, actually. I did not see that. That would be pretty funny because you're like, oh my gosh.
Well, because they describe the rapture as people being lifted up
through that, right?
Going up into the heavens, right? And so
Dude, that would have been classic, actually.
Oh, that was freaking hilarious.
Yeah. We had a couple of, we have a pretty major Air Force base where a lot of rockets get lifted off, which probably as a crow flies 100 miles from us, or maybe less than that. But
Really
we
visible.
saw, what's that?
Really visible, though.
Really visible. So anyway, we watched a couple of SpaceX rockets getting shipped off, putting whatever Elon Musk is, Quest Link or something like that. I can't think of it. Whatever that is. Starlink. So a lot of those satellites were going up. So it's kind of cool to watch this stuff coming up over the sky. For you desert rats that are out here, you got to see it. It's pretty awesome to watch because the fuel particles that come off the back of it illuminate in the sky, even when it's dark out. So the sun hits it and it's like this light and darkness. It's cool, man. It's awesome to watch.
Magnesium burning. It burns at like huge temperatures.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And see
some
different things.
A string of satellites going across the sky?
I saw something like that other night.
There's like 30 of them. And there's like 3 or 4 different strings of them. And you can go on and Google when they'll be coming over your GPS. And it's wild to see. The first time I saw it, I was like, I know that I looked it up and I know I was going to come and see it, but it still looks like a damn spaceship.
Yeah. Yeah. along with helium-filled blow-up dolls.
Right.
At the same time. Oh, my God. Yeah, a lot of people thought that it was going to be a world-ending type of thing. Banks were going to shut down. Government was going to blow up. As most of you guys who've watched just over 45 episodes know that there is a very heavy faith-based part to our stuff. Listen, at the end of the day, God's going to do it when God's going to do it. And as much as you want to try to predict it and become a prophet, good luck. Let me know how that turns out for you.
Not when the Mayans say, though, right?
Right.
The Mayans have lost that bet like 5 times in the century. So
yeah. And I have my brother, love him to death. So Kelly, when you're watching this, he's deep down the rabbit hole. Some of the things he said has come true. Just like
did he paint his roof blue?
Randy Damas. Yeah. Some of the stuff has come through.
Did he paint his roof blue though?
What's that?
Did he paint his roof blue since he's over in Hawaii?
That's a good question. I don't know. He's done a lot of renovations lately, but I will say this is that when that fire happened, everyone thinks that. So Kelly, when you watch this, you would say this, and we're going to get you on here. Unfortunately, you're 3 hours behind us, so it's a little early, but when that fire happened, he was the only one with power and internet because he got Starlink.
Yeah.
And then he set it up this little solar operated battery cell. So all of his neighbors think he's crazy and his tin hat is very shiny and all that stuff. But guess who all came over to his house when there was no power and no cell phone service?
Exactly. That's
so he won on that one. But anyway, so let's get into it. That was a long intro this morning. We were a good 5-6 minutes into talking about our crazy life. I do want to throw a shout out to us, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. Yesterday, at our country club at Ironwood Country Club, located in South Palm Desert, our country club had a Masters tournament, and they basically take the holes on the golf course and they make them as difficult as possible to kind of, in essence, simulate a Masters golf tournament. So we had a team of 5 guys. We're not bragging. I just wanted to share this with you, but our team won. So that part was cool, but really what I wanted to throw out, because we do have a lot of Ironwood members that watch this podcast, but hats off to you, Ironwood. You did one hell of a job. Great food, great camaraderie with the guys, and just a great atmosphere. So it was my first one, but just a really cool time to bond with some different guys that you don't normally get to bond with. But again, Ironwood Country Club did well. So congratulations to you. I appreciate you guys. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
You and I were talking, I think yesterday or maybe 2 days ago, actually probably yesterday. And you were talking about communication. And I know that we've talked about this in previous episodes, but it's always good. I think we come down to is kind of have to tell somebody at least 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times, since that's including us, about the perfection of communication. Funny how you mentioned that. I kind of failed. Actually, I didn't kind of fail at that. I failed at that last night, but we'll get into that as soon as we go from there. So what brought this to your brain that you really wanted to touch on this?
Well, the bigger thing for me is to try to understand what it is people are trying to communicate. I struggle with that because when you're talking with somebody, they usually only give you the Cliff Notes version of what's really going on. And they may start in the middle of the story. And so then you have to backtrack if you really care. And if you are trying to listen to hear instead of listening to respond, ultimately you need to be able to respond. So you have to formulate a thought based upon facts, figures, or whatever they're trying to convey. And the problem is if you're not communicating from the beginning of the story to the middle of the story to the end of the story, then nobody can really even respond. And it takes a lot of effort and energy to rip that out of people sometimes. And so in talking about communication, for me, a lot of times communication is a frustrating point for me. Because when I'm communicating with folks, I learned early on in sales that if you're trying to communicate with people and to get them to buy your products or your services or whatever, you have to meet them where they're at, right? So the first thing you ask, are you available to chat about this? And is this a good time? And then moving on, and you could do that even with your spouse, right? Because they need to be open and available to your style of communication. We all have a style. Some of us are better at it than others. Some of us are worse at it than others. Some of us don't do well with certain personalities. We've talked about it in previous episodes. My wife calls me daytime Brent and nighttime Brent. Daytime Brent has a different communication style than nighttime Brent. And it's a vastly different interaction style. Because during the day, I'm trying to move the needle as hard and as fast as I can. And I'm trying to get as much accomplished, not just for myself, but for others. And sometimes I push people to the point that they break because they're not ready and available to communicate on the level that I'm trying to communicate with them. It is a fault of mine. And so what I've learned, almost 52 years on this planet, is to make sure that people are open to your style of communication. That's the first step.
Oh, what you said something. There's nighttime Brent or daytime Brent and nighttime Brent.
Yeah.
It's hard to turn off daytime Brent. It's hard to turn off daytime Blair. How, and you say this because I struggle with this too. And it's hard to turn off to me because we pour out. And it's not saying that April doesn't pour out with the kids. I mean, and April's got a new business with the Wellness Center. I'll use the example of Chrissy's. Chrissy's got, basically 2 storefronts on El Paseo in the heart of season, 15 employees, but also everybody has a daytime personality and you're running.
Yeah.
And then you get down where it's kind of safe, right? It's kind of supposed to be this safe haven, but you're still geared up for the day, from the day.
Yeah.
And everyone that pooped on you during that day, and you're fighting back, doing, again, daytime Brent, daytime Blair, whatever, daytime anybody in business. And you come out and you bring that daytime into the nighttime. How do you separate that in communication? Because you're still kind of I'm still jacked up a lot of times during the night, and I'm taking my aggressions out.
Yeah, the way this podcast started was because I would call you on my way home and we would communicate.
Yeah.
And it was a dumping ground for both of us, so that way we didn't dump on our families. And And now we don't do as much of that. And so I've had to be completely cognizant of the fact that I don't have that outlet. Mm-hmm. So no different. We've talked about it before. Old corny movie, Sylvester Stallone, where he's the truck driver and he's doing the arm wrestling. And when he turns his hat around backwards, he's the arm wrestler. When he turns his arm around forward, he's a truck driver, nice guy, right? And so I have to do that. I have to physically and mentally and emotionally switch that gear. I have to. I don't have a choice. Because daytime Brent is going to break the family. They understand when it's daytime and they're in my sphere, I'm a different human being. But if they need me to become nighttime Brent, they also need to communicate that they need a different situation to be had to further them during that time. So emotionally, you're triggered by something during the day. If April or the kids are needing me to become nighttime Brent, they know how to do that. Probably wasn't the easiest thing for them to learn. Probably wasn't easy for me to learn. But we have this kind of unwritten, unspoken thing where if they need me, they just kind of come up and give me a hug, and then I turn into a different. Instead of, how can I help you? How can I fix this? It's, I just hold them, or I just give them emotional support, and I don't try to solve their problem. But sometimes communication can be unwritten, unspoken. It can just be, a physical trigger. We talk about triggers. We've talked about triggers before. Ed Milet uses a snap of the fingers. Some people do a clap. Some people do a tap. Tap therapy. A lot of people that have come from tap therapy use the tap where they're doing this. You see people do this, and that they've been to tap therapy, right?
Right. Or they're Illuminati, one of the two.
That's this, right? So.
Right. This or this, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
but I think that's good because I love these conversations that you and I had, and you're absolutely right. I mean, that's how the podcast started. Is you and I would talk, and I think you just triggered something in my mind because I do have to turn that off. It's, or if I've had a rough day, because I'm a classic introvert, regardless of what people think of me. So it takes work for me to have constant communication, and I'm always trying to help people become better. And so I'm mentally exhausted. And so when something goes a little sideways at home, it's just like, God, this is in my mind. It's not the right way. It's just in my mind. It's like, this is supposed to be my safe spot. And now this is happening. Like, can somebody just, whatever. But I think what I'm getting at is I'm not going to think, I'm going to do this as soon as we're done with this podcast today, is I'm going to make a Post-it note and I'm going to stick that on the dash of my car and put Nighttime Blair on it.
Oh, good call. Good trigger.
So when I'm coming home, even if it's at 3:00 in the afternoon and we get done early, I've got to switch gears, right? Regardless of anything, wherever I'm coming in, if I know I'm walking through those doors, or if we play, whatever I'm doing, as soon as you walk through those doors, that's the last thing typically I'm going to see walking through those doors, is, it's time for Nighttime Blair, and get into that spot.
Could you imagine how successful you would have been in the past, or how successful you could even be today in your sales if, in fact, every phone call or every email, you opened it up with, is this a good time to talk about something serious? Or if is this a good time to talk about the sale of your home? Right? Because your client may just be calling you to vent about the inspection report. Right? And then you have an agenda because you haven't talked to them for a few days and a bunch of stuff's happened. And I don't know your business, but I'm kind of summarizing and paraphrasing. And because you have this intent to deliver this message to them that you haven't been able to deliver for a couple of days. Maybe they haven't been responsive. Maybe they've been out of town or whatever. And so you don't have ears to hear, eyes to see. You're trying to listen to respond.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even imagine how successful I would have been in sales had I not had an agenda every time somebody called me.
Yeah.
Or every time I called somebody, right?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, because we have this, because it's everything is this. Okay, we got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this. We do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like sitting and doing this podcast, and I'm sure you're doing the same thing. As soon as we're done with this, I got to this, and this done.
Yeah.
Instead of just kind of being there and then communicating it, and then when people are not responding the right way, I'm like, what is it going to take? But I think that's a good idea. We just brought on a new agent, and I think that's what we're going to do is take it when you instill that. Even though that people may know that, instill that, hey, just reaching out is now a good time. Yeah, what's up? Just reaching out to say hi, or this is what we got going on. But it lets people respond, I can't, or whatever.
Because everybody answers their phone now, right? It's a 6-second, 7-second society, right? We talked about that in a previous podcast. So no matter what, everybody answers their phone. Can you imagine how much slower business would be if things went back to the 80s where you actually there was no voicemail. There was an answering machine and you couldn't get a message until you got home. Sometimes 12 hours later. There was a 12-hour to 24-hour delay, right? If you didn't get home till 10 o'clock at night, you listen to your messages, you're like, they're probably asleep. I'm not gonna deal with this.
Yeah.
So if you slow the process down on the communication and make sure they're ready for the uptake of what you're trying to deliver, it's huge.
Well, I think another thing too is communication through text messages. I mean, that become, so easy as well.
So low level though.
So low level because everyone's okay. It's not so invasive. I can just
totally
go ahead and throw this out, but it's totally evasive, right? And speaking of communication, it could be read the total wrong way.
Yeah, there's no
totally
emotion.
The wrong way because there's no emotion to it, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes you get this text
and emoticons you use. It's just still
yeah.
No,
there's a couple times if I've gotten some text and I'm like, and I respond, wow, that didn't read well. Well, that's not what I meant. I'm like, I'm telling you how it read.
Yeah.
And but that also could come down to are you carrying your business the right way or you're carrying your life the right way? But again, it's become such an easy way. Hey, I can throw this text out. I'm super guilty of it. I'm just going to fly this out, trying to get this stuff out because I don't want to be locked down on the phone right now.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you noticed this, but I do that. If you text me, I'll just call you.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to train you that I don't want to deal with text. Text to me is super low level, and it's like a walkie-talkie, right?
Yeah.
Remember walkie-talkies when you were a kid, right? And
awesome.
You couldn't talk forever on it because it would start to garble and break up after a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was real quick, short bursts of direct communication. Mm-hmm. And that's what text should be, in my opinion, or messaging on WhatsApp or Slack or Messenger or I don't know how many things that you get, but all of a sudden I'll get somebody start WhatsApping me because they searched me on the link tree. And they grab my WhatsApp and they start WhatsApping me without any permission, without any pre-discussion, without even introducing themselves. They think I know what their handle is on WhatsApp, and they have this 3-page freaking WhatsApp message. And then I got to discern what it is they're trying to accomplish, what type of, emotional state they're in. If this is, a dire circumstance, an emergency, something that can wait, something, all of those things, right? Mm-hmm. And so back to communication is you have to meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
If you're going to WhatsApp them, Slack, message, Facebook message, all that stuff, first off, get grammar and spelling checked.
Right.
I mean, your phone does that. It's simple. That's like an irritation for me. And then secondly, hey, is this a good medium for us to communicate on?
Right. That's a good idea.
Hi, my name is this. There's nothing worse than I get a call from somebody and they're like, all right, sounds good. I'll talk to you later. I'll wait for your call. Whoa, I don't have your phone number. What? You didn't pick it up on on caller ID? Well, maybe, but I want to make sure it's the right number
Mm-hmm.
that you're calling from, that I can actually get you there. And I'm not going to be calling your grandpa because you used his phone
Mm-hmm.
because yours was dead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Give me the tools to help you, help me, help you.
Yeah. Going back to your six, and I think that's, there's some good stuff that is definitely triggered in my mind. I think that what you said is we are a 6 second society.
Yeah.
And, the path of least resistance, and what makes it easier is more what's easier for us than what's easier for them. But those are some good questions. Are you asking, is this, I like that. Is this a good way of communication for you? Do you prefer text, or do you prefer, as
Yeah.
Brent just said, phone calls? One thing that one of my agents and I have found, that's because we're kind of on the fly back and forth, and it's a little different relationship, and you have to accommodate those things, as Brent was saying. But we do a voice text message to where actually I'm recording my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And because, first of all, talking about being lazy, I don't want to spend the time texting
Mm-hmm.
a laundry list of stuff so I can communicate it within 1 minute. And I also don't want to get locked on the phone for a minute, which is, it sucks. I mean, I'm not saying that's what we do all the time,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things like, hey, I'm thinking about this. And then in my mind, if he's busy, he'll get to it. And when if he's not busy, he'll get to it at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things. But I think going back to this is just not count on that. And that may be annoying to some people. I know it's annoying to Chrissy because she's in her car and that car she can't pick it up
Mm-hmm.
through Bluetooth and all that stuff. So find out what the best type of communication for is with your clients, with your spouse, whatever that may be. But your nighttime Brent, Blair, daytime Blair, whatever it's going to be. But there's so many good points in that. And again, this fast-paced society, I think you said it in a nutshell. It's just it has to be instantaneous instead of just taking a breath and really figuring it out.
Yep.
We talked about this before, but man, what was it like if we had had cell phones in high school?
I did.
I don't know.
Actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I had a cell phone and a pager. It was a freaking bag phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You had
didn't.
to carry it around like a brick.
I mean, I just always laugh about how we found each other in just random parts of Portland,
Yeah.
and how we made that happen. I guess it was just like, hey, meet us at McDonald's at 6:00, and we're going to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
At 8:00, we're going to be here. At 10:00, we're going to be here.
Yeah.
And then when we go home and sneak out, we're going to be here. Do those parts. I never snuck out though. I was a really good boy.
Sure. We used to go cruising, right? Everybody knew.
Yeah.
Friday night at 7:00, you were out cruising. And then
Yeah.
everybody would meet up at the parking lot at 10, and
Yeah.
everybody would check out everybody's cars and all that. We never had any direct communication. There was no text message, no WhatsApp, no Slack, none of that stuff.
Yeah, you just figured it out.
When you drove by.
Could you actually have house parties?
Yeah.
Those were, it's like, okay, we're just going to go to a house. But anyway.
First time I heard Two Live Crew was at a house party.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Got invited to a house party in Roseburg, and they were playing Two Live Crew.
Like, what is this? It's a different version of Old Guys Still Rock, right?
Oh man.
So good.
Old guys still cuss. Is that one would be
I
called?
know. That was a lot too. I mean, it was that was kind of what Two Live Crew. Who else was out there at the time? It was just kind of this new genre of rap during that time. And Snoop Dogg was kind of out at that time.
Just barely.
And that was a lot. NWA.
Oh yeah, NWA was out. Snoop hadn't given up smoke by then.
I know, man. No, man.
Yeah.
So any more golden nuggets? I mean, I think that's so great. I mean, again, kind of recapping, do you have a second? instead of just sending a text and maybe read the wrong way. Trying to think of also, however, we kept this note. Is it, I think that is, is it a good time? Just I think what you actually wrote down this, which you talked about a little bit before we got on here, is communication is not simple, but it's also not difficult.
Yeah.
Did I say that the right way?
Yep, exactly. It's so easy, it's complicated, right?
Yeah.
It is really what it boils down to. Talk about layers of complication. 18 to 25-year-olds, interacting with them a lot lately as new clients and new decision makers in business and things like that, because they're, the assistants or virtual assistants or whatever, and dealing with them. Abbreviations, right? BRB, BYO, blah, like indirect communication in an email in a professional setting. Like I need a decoder wheel.
Yeah, I hear you.
Right?
I hear you.
I feel like on that movie, the Christmas movie where he gets the BB gun and all that stuff, and he waits for the decoder wheel to show up in the mail, and then it's this piece of plastic, and he's all mad,
Christmas,
and it doesn't work.
Christmas
story, right? I feel like I need one of those decoder wheels to talk to these people. I just and they're not asking direct questions. They're starting out in the middle of their thought, and you're supposed to figure it out. And then they get frustrated with you when you ask, like, can we start at the beginning?
Yeah.
So I'm having to learn new ways to communicate, and that's where a lot of this came from. Is it's a brave new world out there, trying to learn how to communicate with all different genres of people. We have 70 and 80-year-old clients, and to talk to them, they don't want to email, they don't want to text, they don't want to open up an app and look for the information. They want it mailed to them, but they don't want to pay for the mail because they think mail is still free, but it's not, and it's not anymore. And so it's a, again, meeting people where they're at is really the key. But if you're going to be a good communicator, you have to ask the right questions in a way that's going to basically pull. I feel like I'm dragging information out of people.
Right.
Get the come along out. We're going to actually get the information out of you before we move on. So,
no, I think that's again going back to find out. You don't have to it doesn't have to be direct questions, but just find out, especially with your clients, or maybe it's a brand new relationship, what is the best way for you to communication, however that needs to be worded. It doesn't have to be worded exactly what I just said. Find out what's easier for them. What do you prefer?
Yeah.
And I think that just comes down to building a relationship. And we talked about this last week, is just, the deafening sounds of echo chambers, right? We get really lazy getting stuck into our silo, and this is the way it's going to be, or way it should be, because I've just been in this silo for long, and breaking down those walls of those silos and learning how this is just another tool for us to chase perfection and end up at excellence, right?
Yeah.
Is to, okay, we got real comfortable in here. Now it's time to get uncomfortable and figure some different ways out. If someone asks you, are you, when can we get together? Make that happen, and then go have some good, meaningful conversations.
How about start it out? When can we get together?
Yeah.
Here's what works for me.
Right. Yeah. Instead of just asking an open-ended and then coming back, well, I can do Thursday. Well, I can't do Thursday.
Right. 27.
And then going back and like, dude, why did you just tell me when you're I'm the same way. So I'm laughing at myself and pointing fingers at myself. Like, hey, I would love to get together with you. When can you do it? And they're like, well, I'm available Wednesday, Thursday. I'm like, okay, well, I can't do that. Well, I should have said, hey, I'm available. I would love to get together with you. Again, this is a learning experience for me.
I'm available.
Yep.
What works? Yeah. Which one works for you the best?
Yeah. So again, something so simple, but we make it so difficult.
Right. And so like this, so I have a Calendly link. I don't know if anybody's ever used that. It's super cool, but it's also irritates people because they feel like you're just disconnecting from them and you want to put the burden on them to schedule with you. So what I do differently in that is so that way they don't get offended is now bear in mind I'm not trying to not offend everybody, but again, if you're prospecting or if you're trying to build a relationship with people, again, you have to be able to meet them where they're at. So I say, when would be a good time for us to meet? Options for me are these options going forward for the next 2 weeks. And then if that doesn't work, here is my calendar link. If it's easier for you to schedule there, or you can just send me times back. Then I've given them options. I've given them space. I've given them the ability for them to formulate how best they want to communicate and at what times. And then they have direct access to my calendar.
Yeah.
Then the other part is I get people who have access to my calendar link who don't send me anything. They just schedule a meeting.
Yeah.
And so they need to be able to meet me where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
So I'd prefer it to be prefaced with, hey, I'm thinking about having a meeting with you. Is it okay to use your calendar link?
Yeah. Right. Or if you, I mean, it depends how you put it out there, right? If you want, if you want to have a meeting with me, schedule me here. And a lot of people are doing that now. Schedule for your next appointment.
Yeah.
I was going to say something on that, but I think, what we started doing a little bit while, no matter what I have going on, is I invite people, like, just say I have a couple meetings or I'm doing whatever, and I'll include David, who's one of our agents, and I'll include him on like he's going to come to the meeting with me. But he basically understands that those times I'm not available. So if you need me, you're going to schedule an appointment, build around that, because I'm not available at that time, and it's on his calendar and it's on my calendar. And now we know what time's available or not. He does the same thing. Hey, I have this meeting. I'm like, okay. So just building it up for when we get more and more busy, if you may, that everyone knows what each other's calendars for. And I'm not planning stuff and knowing that, he's got stuff that going on. So I know what's on his schedule. I know what's on my schedule. So again, communication, it's much needed. It is a very good time right now to circle back. That's the second week in a row I've used that, and to fix stuff. I think that we all struggle with that, with communication, because it has become so easy, or we just push it off to the wayside as like, oh, now him and I, or him and her, or whatever it may be, we just don't communicate well. Well, figure it out. Because that's what happened. That's what's happened in society, is like, we just like, we're just not communicating very well right now. So we're just going to go ahead and kill this relationship and throw it in the gutter. And that's really what happens to marriages. Communication breaks down, and the easy way out is like, they just don't understand what I'm saying. Well, and again, pointing the finger at me, and I told you last week that I'm going to therapy to kind of figure this out, but learning how to not have the PTSD from the past and bringing that in and to fine tune who you are and recalibrate who you are and communicate. God gave us a mouth and tongue and words and sign language and whatever it is, so we can communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any final words, my dude?
As always, take these tools, reach out to us if you need help. I have a ton of other thoughts on this that I could go into, and I could do a whole class on communication styles. So if anybody wants to revisit that or go down that road, I'm happy to share with you, schedule some time free of charge, and help you out with that. And then as always, just go make a damn difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is an onion that we can peel back. And I promise you, since we've kind of had this conversation before about communication, we'll come back to it again. Yeah, I just think that's super important. And one thing that I do want to put out there too is like, hey, if you're a good communicator, Let us know what you're doing, right? As Brent said, share with us what you're doing if you're a good communicator, either through comments, text messages, whatever it's going to be. Obviously, you know how to get a hold of us. It's super simple. But if you're struggling too, how can we help, right? That's what we're here for. So that's about it. We are going to go make, as Brent says, we're going to go make a damn difference out there. We appreciate you guys so much. As we said at the beginning of the show, thank you so much for your continued support. 45 subscribers. We're growing, baby. We started with one. Just get one every week. We'll be good. And again, if you like the show, share the show. Until we see each other next time, guys, stay safe. But most of all, God bless. We love you guys. Take care.